Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we are looking at Game 3 back in Dallas. Play a props up in this episode for that Mavs and Timberwolves series here in the conference finals in the West. We also have a best bets video up for you, and we're bringing both of these to you each and every day now for every one of these playoff games the rest of the way. Hopefully not too short conference finals series. We're going to get some more hoops here in the conference finals if we can, but we will have, like I said, those episodes up each and every day. So subscribe to that page and continue to follow along for the rest of this postseason. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Use that prop finder tool. You can find that under the NBA tab. It's a nice little chart in front of you to make sure that you are getting the best lines and odds back your way from all these bets that you are making in the NBA this fine postseason. Nate, let's run into your first play a prop here for Game 3 as we talk about the impressive Rook.
Derek Lively, over 7.5 rebounds, which I'm offended, Josh. I had this as a lean for you last game, and I put it in the notes. I was like, I don't want to use this. I'm going to keep fading Rudy, which slightly did not work out. And I had Kyrie over assists as another lean. You wanted neither. You wanted to fade Mike Conley, and then we both got spurned because the Wolves stars sucked so much that those role players had to step up in Conley and Gobert, I guess. But I mean, Derek Lively, already better than blank. I guess they're comparing him to Tyson Chandler, and like Zach Lowe was immediately like, well, he's already a better short roll man who's making plays in terms of he has 2+ assists now in 4 straight games. So 7.5 rebounds is the safest to me, but 17.5 PRA is still too low for the man who's averaging 25, just a nod over 25 in his last 4 here. Second in the playoffs in rebound chances in that span, 20.3. behind only Rudy Gobert. But he does have a higher success rate than Rudy, 55% of those boards. He's averaging more boards as a result, 11.3 versus 10. And his boards prop is 4 lower than Rudy Gobert, I guess because he splits time with Gafford. That's fair. But, the Mavs are also out-rebounding this Wolves team, outscoring them in the paint. And these guys being fresh has a lot to do with that, whereas Rudy's playing heavy minutes, getting run around all the time on defense. And, I will say again, maybe he plays a few fewer minutes. It seems like an obvious adjustment for the Wolves, but we'll see about that. In any case, Lively's doing as much damage on the offensive glass as the defensive. He's averaging 7 O-Reb chances in this series and has grabbed half of those. He's got a 65% contested rebound rate overall, just grabbing these boards in traffic, a man child amongst men. And the extra attention that Luka will likely get, including Rudy probably being up at the level of the screen a little bit more, a little less drop, gives you more opportunities to get in there and crash, right? Either for a lob, which we get you both the point and the rebound, or just an offensive rebound and then kicking it out. And that's all just good for the PRA because that's how he's going to get most of his assists, is grabbing those, kicking them out. He is boarded up more at home lately in these playoffs. We saw the emotional performance from him in Game 6 to close out OKC. I'm stunned kind of how well he's maintained his level of boarding against a team that's a much better matchup for him. But it hasn't mattered. Minnesota is despite all their size, has just not been very reliable on the boards, and Lively's taking advantage of it.
I think we've done it all season since this trade. We've underestimated how big of a trade that was. And to be fair to all of us, how many times have the Mavs made seemingly inconsequential moves at the break for all of us to go oh, they're not serious about putting legit talent around Luka? And I've always really actually liked PJ Washington's game, but it was hard to really accurately see how good he was on the Hornets, obviously. And then for Gafford, exactly what I just said, just change out Wizards for Hornets, right? And so I think it makes sense that this team is a little bit better than we gave them credit for down low. We all thought they dominated OKC down low, but that doesn't matter because OKC is OKC. But yeah, Lively's quickness, and by the way, throwing multiple bigs at the other team's big and throwing multiple guards who can defend at the other team's guards, that's a strategy in and of itself. Having two different players with the more energy each time they come on the floor than Rudy has, because he's been on the floor the whole time. It's a pretty good strategy, man. And both these dudes have like assumed their roles with some pretty great fervor, let's say. And if you want to feel insulted, I didn't even tell you this, but I actually personally bet Derek Lively over 16.5 PRA last game, and didn't tell you because I didn't put it in the show. But I was like, oh, this is a good bet for even money. I love this kid right now and the assist that he's getting too. So yeah, I'm with it. Good look there. Thanks for bringing it up. And I'm still with Derek Lively in any way, shape, or form that you want to take him. I think sprinkling on a double here and there is a pretty good look, but let me go to the big man on the other team here and talk about Cat, because this has kind of become legit, I think, which is his home road split. So now that we're on the road, I'm going to take him over 19.5 points in this one. I'm also going to sprinkle on the 25 plus points on FanDuel, which is plus 290. It's almost 3-1 on your money for him to get 25, which would just be a few more than what he needs in this game. And for Cat, like, it's crazy, man, that the fact that like those home road splits are now what they are since the month of February. I think it's started to become pretty legit. He hasn't scored 20 points at home since February 24th against Brooklyn, who I don't think they've stopped a power forward from getting 20 points since I believe George Bush II was president. So like this is going to continue to be something that I think we can rely on, which is like at home, 14 points per game, 37% from the field, 27% from deep for Cat. And that's since February and basically since the All-Star break. On the road, over a 9 of 13 games from this 19.5 point prop, 22.5 points per game, 54% from the field. So like right there, 17% better than the 37 he's shooting on the road, or at home rather. 45% from deep. It's just so much better than the 27% that he's shooting at home as well, which is wild. Maybe there's some of that Luka stuff going on that you were talking about, where he just feeds off of the negative energy from the crowd. But either way, like he's also been sort of a bad game, good game player, to be honest with you. 2 bad games in a row equates to Cat having a pretty good game. This one, I don't rely on that too much, but I do think there is something, especially in the playoffs, where it's like, okay, whatever I'm doing now, there's adjustments being made. I'm playing the same team I did last time. I can easily learn from this last game and use it in this next game. Not something you can do in the regular season when you play a different team and you don't see that team that you just lost to, right, for another month or whatever it is. Then it's a big difference. So I think those adjustments should come into play here as well. And the usage is going to be what it is for Cat, man. Like you can tell him to do anything. If you tell him pass more, it doesn't matter. Cat's going Cat, right? It's just that simple. He's going to look at PJ Washington as someone that he can bully all the way to the basket. He's going to force the issue and should get a few more of these. I'm not saying he should get a few more of the foul calls, but he has gone to the free throw line almost one full more time per game on the road, which also probably speaks to the aggression rather than like any kind of friendly whistles. The threes are still going to be there. He's now taken the 14 between these first 2 games, 9 and 5. And I don't care how many he takes, to be honest. Like he's taking pretty efficient threes. I actually prefer, as someone who's betting on his points, that he does just go at PJ, because I think that has been something he's created a slight mismatch in terms of the strength between these two dudes. So I'm just going to bank on him stepping up in this one, which is not something that I would have ever felt comfortable with, but it's the sort of the recent examples definitely support that essentially.
Big Cat guy in the show. Yeah. I mean, you gotta expect one of the two guys to step up in terms of Ant and Cat. Yeah. And like you said, it could be like I got this mode from Cat as he just comes out more aggressive, maybe has a good first quarter, and that gets you on the way to those 20 points. So Kyle Anderson over 3.5 points that's the only prop I've seen up so far on FanDuel. Yeah. I mean, we're doing this pretty early on Saturday, but I would be interested in getting some of his peripheral stats in there as well, depending how low they are. But 3.5 points is very low for a guy who's averaged 9 so far in the series, played about 19 minutes per game, actually closed out game 2, in the fourth quarter. And according to Coach Draymond Green on his podcast, he thinks Kyle should start as one of the adjustments Minnesota makes to just get a little more defensive versatility. I mean, they definitely need something in terms of adjustments, and he is kind of their Swiss Army knife off the bench. I mean, he is. That is what he is. He will provide multiple things, and a sneaky kind of scorer, ability to get to the lane and finish in different ways, and I mean, get to the line. And we're talking about 4 points, so just like even that time where he grabs a board and gets fouled, and that's 2 free points right there. So I mean, this is extremely low for a guy who's continues to stock continues to rise in this series. So I think we take that, and rebounds and assists are fine if you want to add them. I mean, he's a guy who flirted with like triple double numbers when he gets 36 minutes. Like he's just all over there, being a versatile player.
I might have mentioned it the other day. I originally was like, what is Draymond talking about? When he mentioned that in the pregame, I was like, that was a random X factor choice for Kyle Slow-Mo Anderson. But I mean, one, to be honest, on offense, he's the dude they're leaving open more than anybody else, especially once Jaden McDaniels started going off. And when they were on the floor at the same time, you saw a lot more guarding Kyle Anderson or guarding Jaden McDaniels more feverishly than anybody did with Kyle Anderson, who's just sort of allowed to just waltz into the free throw line area and take his little bunnies that they still take like 7 seconds to load up. Slow-mo is an apt name for him, but it's his defense as well. Like, I don't know if he is the answer, but he is so versatile on defense that at least you're not going to get torched by whomever he plays. And like Luka is not beating people with like quickness and speed. So you don't got to worry about like Kyle Anderson getting beat around, guys getting around him and turning the corner necessarily. So yeah, I think he's a great pick to continue to go back to. 3.5 points is wonderful. He's taken enough shots to make 2 of them and us feel very good about it. He had that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar skyhook off of the stellar footwork yesterday. So yeah, I still really like Slow-Mo to keep getting his as basically like the dude who's performed the best relative to his expectations for this Wolves team. Well, sorry, Naz Reid. I keep disrespecting Naz Reid. Naz is the man, but so is Slow-Mo. And we should probably go back to Naz. And I think we both support more Naz bets if anybody wants to make them. We just didn't take him quite yet. So Gafford. I'm going to go back to him. I think this is also pretty disrespectful. 7.5 points for Gafford. This is somewhat similar. I'm going over, just to be clear. And this is a little bit similar to my TJ McConnell bets that I keep making whenever he's at 9.5 points. Okay, well, he takes 10 shots a game. He makes 5 of them. They're all 2s. Similar concept here with Gafford. He's going to continue to take these shots, 7 shots a game or so that he's taken now in all of the games that he's had 19 plus minutes. So the thing, if you look at Gafford's stats in the playoffs and you look at his game logs, the only times he's really gone under this 7.5 point prop is when he was hurt, or he was hurt the prior game, or he's hurt that game, right? And so he played a few less minutes, and so there were a couple games where he saw less than 19 minutes. But in every game that he's played at least 19 minutes, he's gone over in all 10 of those out of the 14 games that they played in this postseason. He's at 12 points per game with 7 field goal attempts. 4.5 of them are makes, right? So this comes back to the same thing. Like, he's constantly making 4 field goals. He's not a very good free throw shooter, even when he gets there. I'll be honest. I'm not going to rely on those. He missed 2 of them twice, I believe, yesterday. He might have made 1 of the 4, but he missed a lot of them. So I'm not necessarily relying on the free throws. Plus, Rudy does a pretty good job of defending without fouling. That's like why I guess he got Defensive Player of the Year. Another conversation. More importantly for Gafford, like, it's that math. It's just simple math, baby. Like, he's not taking shots that you worry about him making. He's either going to make that dunk or he's not, man. It's that simple. Ain't no layups. Ain't no, there's a little bit of the jump hook from like 4 feet away, but that's also just a money shot. These are all very, very high percentage shots for him on 7 field goal attempts. The 3.6 free throw attempts, he has made 2 of them per game when he gets there. Once again, though, I don't really want to bank on that. I just want to go back to the idea that, like, this is a dude who's involved in the offense as long as Luka's involved in the offense. He is entirely unlocked by Luka, as is Derek Lively, as we know. Some of those no-look passes to Lively yesterday were beyond filthy from like 30 feet away from Luka. It's just absolutely beautiful. For Gafford, doesn't even need those. It's like he's just putting Jaden McDaniels on his hip, being like, come along, young blood. And then Rudy drops, or he doesn't. And if he doesn't, then and honestly, even sometimes he has dropped and he still gets beat because Luka just puts it in the exact perfect spot that only Gafford can get to. And I do think Gafford will continue to get about 4 points in the first quarter based off of that. Like, Luka really likes to get a few other guys involved. Well, basically, he likes to get his big involved in the first quarter alongside the scoring that he's going to do. So I expect most of the assists from Luka in the first quarter, especially, to continue going to Gafford, who's going to be out within 5 minutes of the first quarter. And I'm still fine with that because it's almost like a little bit like Kendrick Perkins back on the Celtics in the day, where it's like, well, we ain't going to give him the ball that much, but we'll make sure he gets it in the first quarter so he feels involved. And that's like times 10 for Gafford, who's way more involved the rest of the game. I'm confident in the 21 minute. It's basically 22 minutes for him. 26 for Lively, short of him, knock on wood, dislocating a pinky or something to that effect. Like, he's done a great. Rudy doesn't put you in foul trouble. You don't got you can foul Rudy and that's fine. But like, as soon as Gaffer gets 1 or 2 fouls, like, okay, he comes out and then he comes back in. Like, they ain't worried about it. They got 2 dudes that they feel very comfortable playing against Rudy. Like I said, I think he definitely keeps getting those 21 minutes, which should equate to about 7 field goal attempts, which should easily equate to those 8 points.
Yeah, I mean, he blocked Rudy at the rim at least once, right? I mean, he's just doing a fantastic job defensively as well. I think he had 4 points in the first 2 minutes of that last game. So, yeah, again, it's a low bar for just basically 4 field goals or a couple free throws for these guys who are just cleaning up with all the attention paid to Kairuka. It's just like, yeah, it's pretty easy for them to clean up.
Yep, 100%. So that is all the time that we have for you in this one. Continue to follow along. We've also got a Best Bets episode alongside these player props. We're bringing you both each and every day now throughout the rest of this postseason. So until we see you next, happy betting.